Okay, now we're going to get into the technical end if you want to go out and shoot one of these guns. This particular example I bought many years ago, and I got it pretty reasonably, okay, again, on the gun broker, but I didn't know much about these rifles, didn't quite understand them, and I said, wow, I picked this up fairly reasonable, but this gun had several things wrong with it. One was the extractor and the ejector block were missing, and the magazine spring is broken. They did something to prop it up to make it look good, but that was screwed up. The stock is alright, but again, critically, this latch here for the barrel band, it's pretty heavily corroded and screwed up. This other one does, the front one locks in, so that's not a problem. But what you would have to do to correct this, because the minute you shoot this band will go flying forward. You have to go through here with a very small punch and drive that out and get it to latch. And I knew I had to rework with this gun again, so I kind of left it down. I didn't correct it. So we'll get that corrected. So, what we want to do, and this one's gummy, we're going to take out the bolt, number one, because I do have to correct something on this particular gun. So we get the bolt out, okay? And that's the one you can see I have a new block, and that I had to take off and grind and fit from another. I had to buy the whole complete bolt, and it took me 2 years to find that extractor. Okay, 2 years. So keep that in mind if you're buying a gun that needs work, okay, or parts. So the next step here, if you want, what we'll do is take the bolt totally apart. We just release pressure on the mainspring, and there is this screw here in the bolt handle. This one's going to come loose. Wow, that one don't want to come out, so I'm going to skip over that for now, leave it alone, put those parts aside. Alright, so now the next step is to get the cleaning rod out. We'll do it from this end. Get out the cleaning rod. And this one is bent or something. It takes me a while to get this thing out. My other ones are missing, and I'm kind of not sorry about it. Well, let me get this cleaning rod out. Okay, what it is, this thing is bent. I gotta like wiggle it back and forth. To get it out. It is threaded on the end, but I don't know if it engages in anything. So that's out. Get that off to the side. So now we take our barrel bands off. This one here, you depress the spring and get it to slide forward. Let me see. It goes on, see, it's pretty tight. And it is what kind of holds the barrel into the gun. That's why, like I said, when they sporterize these things, that ain't a good thing. And then we have our spring here that's stuck, which we'll have to work on that. Now, like I said, the reason not to buy a sporterized one, this screw right here, when we take this screw out, leave, the gun will pop right out of the action, or the action will pop right out. See? So that's what I'm telling you. A one screw and the two barrel bands is all that holds the gun together. So if you got it sporterized and you got something kind of half-ass hanging on the end of the stock, you only got that one screw every time you fire it. So I would not buy a sporterized gun other than if you were getting it dirt cheap for the parts. Okay, and then we'll zoom in here and look at our magazine. And again, it's typical Vitale job where the magazine drops in. Now the Italian one just drops in underneath the gun. You know, the stock itself secures it. But if you look at this, you will see a screw here. And what that is this screw here. So you would remove this screw. So this conversion is different than the Italian conversion. The Italian one just drops in the magazine. So there's your screw. And as you see, you got a hole there now. And now this thing will come out. So where the Italian magazine just dropped in and was set there, you know, basically the action held it into the stock. This one is screwed in through the trigger guard. So this, and there's your stock configuration. Now you see how when they did this, and especially with them little sides for that, that makes that stock real thin. You know, this thing, without all of that, you have to remember that most of this here, this whole section, that was a solid piece of wood. So when they did that conversion, it makes the stock very frail. And that's why you have problems with it splitting and cracking. Okay, so that is the difference. But very similar Vitale magazine. Now, on this magazine, you'll notice there are these little, zoom this in. There are these little sheet metal tips here. And if you look down inside, you will see where they come into the mag. So what I have to do is pull these out like that. See, they kind of lock in, they're part of the magazine. And now I got this here. Take out our magazine follower, which those have to be back for that to get out. Oh, why don't you want to come out? There it is. You see these little tabs here and here, they ride inside these grooves. As you see, the spring is all busted to crap. And that's how they did something where they kind of put the spring together. Try to get the old one out. They may have bent this in there, which I think they did. Alright, let me get that out of there. Alright, so now we've got our spring out. A little bit difficult. Now this floor plate does match the gun. I was lucky to find a replacement part. Here. As you see, I got the whole thing spring and all, and that's pretty grimy and cruddy, but I needed the spring. So what I think I'm going to do is try to get this spring out and get it onto the other one, the matching floor plate. Huh. That's interesting. Oh, that's 115, 146. Okay, so we're going to kind of swap that over and get it in. Alright, the reason I'm kind of showing you this is the floor plate that came with it. And you notice it's grimy and cruddy. Same with the spring. Okay, I was lucky to get this. Parts for this gun are almost impossible to find, and there's the broken spring in there. It would behoove you to disassemble your gun, okay, to this. I already cleaned this. Now this thing was all covered in crap. I had to oil it, and these little frail little arms in there, you know, you have to be gentle with them and don't break them off. Okay, so you have to kind of be careful. Now, this just kind of goes in like this. You line our little wings up in here, like that, and then press these back in, and this is what retains the floor plate. Okay. When you slide these little wedges back in, that's what retains your floor plate. So now we have the magazine working once again. Alright, so now that we got the gun apart, okay, you can see this is our magazine cutoff mechanism here. Alright, like I said, back is magazine is open, and when you push it forward, you see how this moves? That moves something, that little finger down in there, which does your magazine cutoff. So these screws, all of this stuff, see, I had to clean all this. This stuff will all be covered with grime and gunk. And again, if you look closely, this is where I think my problem was with the misfiring. If you look closely here, there's a little bit of crud and grime around this trigger and sear. You know, it is a simple mechanism. It's not complex. But if you get dried, this has to come out. And if you get that dried cosmoline, you can see it in there. I have to scrape all this out before I take them out and shoot. This grease. And what it is, it's a pin. The pin holds this in. There's a spring here for the trigger. So you may have to take, well, that's dovetailed in. You drive the pin out, get the whole mechanism, or flush this out and clean it without disassembling it. Get it clean, make sure there's nothing free. Because I think what happened is in the cold, the other one that was misfiring on me, it was probably gummed up and would stick. You don't want this to stick. Even though it's a simple mechanism, that grease in the cold weather, grime, 100 years of crud in there is going to do you in. So inspect this part and clean it. And basically there's not much on this receiver. Okay. There's a reinforcement. Now I don't know if this reinforcement to the receiver was added later, this piece here, or if this is what it is. So like I said, I don't have another example of it. But it kind of reinforced it, and that's where your bolt locks, and that's it. That's all you got. There are no lugs. Okay? So look at this, make sure it isn't like coming off the receiver or split or anything like that. You know, you have your standard whole bunch of little markings and stuff on the bottom here, and H's, initials, Q746. Alright, this one was rebarreled. Okay, looking at this, the serial number don't match. 3777 and 746. Well, 746 is on the shank of the barrel. So that's kind of unusual. And if you look, there's a little screw here. That's pretty interesting. A little screw holding that on there. So who knows? Very curious. So the mechanism isn't that complex, but these little, the cutoff and all these little things, you might have to disassemble it and clean it. I've had to do that on a couple of them. That's why they'll be stiff, and that you want to clean everything out, lubricate it with like Ballistol or something, or CLP type of oil. You don't want to put Rem oil, and all that other stuff gets gummy. Well, even Ballistol will get gummy too. So you got to want to clean it and keep everything moving freely. Okay, that's kind of important. And this one here, yep, bore's clean and nice on that. So, in a nutshell, that's about your basic maintenance. Like I said, this mechanism is not that complex. Okay, you know, the magazine is quite different, or not, you know, it's similar, but it is different where it locks in to the trigger guard group in stock. And there's still another wood screw that holds a plate in the trigger guard in, and there's no need to remove it, so unless, you know, you have to clean it. Let me see if I can get this screw loose and we'll look at the bolt.